The Southern African Association of Youth Clubs was established in the year 1937. Since its inception, SAAYC has been involved in transforming young people in South Africa through various program interventions. SAAYC has gone from being a boys and girls club during the apartheid regime to being a fully fledged youth development organization, a bigger institution in this democratic era.
Because I became a youth leader, during that time that I was youth leader, the youth group went from an average of around 18 people to around 200 people in a very short space of time. And so clearly there was some attraction in terms of the youth group. My first-hand experience of young people in Duduza and Soweto and Eldorado Park, we needed to go to existing youth groups and help them be more effective within those communities.
My involvement with SAAYC started around 1985, 86, thereabout. And the contact with them was based on my being chairman of the Human Resources Trust, which had recruited Alroy Trout, who was the chief executive of the SAAYC then, and he had come over to us as the Human Resources Trust and were providing funding to the SAAYC.
My involvement goes way back. In 1991, where I was a volunteer, started off as a volunteer, they recognized that I have more than that. So I am also actually a prodigy of SAAYC because they recognized more of that, and then I became a staff person.
My role is primarily as a service provider, fundraising, strategy development, training in communications and leadership, training in group dynamics, helping them with the evaluation and monitoring of their programs.
I've been involved with SAAYC for 31 years to date. We started with SAAYC in 1980 because I was a lecturer for Technicon Southern Africa, which is now UNISA. And we had a program at the institution for youth development. Then that's how my involvement started with SAAYC. So we've been together with SAAYC. We started as a baby of SAAYC as a YPAC because I served on the board of YPAC from the institution to assist them with the recalculation and with the development and the professionalization of youth workers.
My involvement with SAAYC started with us having a youth club here in Etwatwa called Sepo Chamber Youth Club. It started by, an after-school study group of young people. As a result of lack of facilities, young people were just roaming the streets or in street corners doing nothing. Then we said, let's do something, let's start debates, let's learn English. That grew into drama, into many other activities and until the youth club was formed.
I've been involved with SAAYC from 1987. By that time I was still a student doing karate under my leadership, Sensei Signimawashi Zilimbula. He had some problems where he decided to leave karate. Then I had to take over to run that club. So while I was running that club, I came across several problems, in fact challenges that I've never been exposed of working with youth. That's when I went out and looked for people who can assist me with the club, the students at the dojo. The dojo is a karate club. That's when I came across SAAYC. Then I inquired more information about the SAAYC, what does SAAYC do. Then I discovered that they are doing programs which are relevant to the youth, exactly what I was looking for.
I was recruited by Kokisi Chavela, who was then the director, to come in at SAAYC. I came in as a field worker, 1997, and after 2 years I became a national programs manager, which then later on became the director around 2006, 2007. I think one of the things for me that attracted me to SAAYC was the fact that SAAYC has always been an organization since its inception that focused mainly on attitudinal change. Sometimes people thought our name was misleading because when they had youth clubs and the level of professionalism that we came with, it couldn't make sense to a lot of people. When we did trainings, even for some government departments, they used to think it's just a youth club, you know, looking at the name. But when we come in, they were blown off in terms of the level of professionalism. I mean, that's why we sometimes even got the question that why don't you guys get a real job?
You know what my friends say to me, Mildred? They say, when are you going to start working good? I say, I'm working. They say, no, chief. Working with young people is not work. Get a job. Then I say, no, I'm working already. And sometimes you become so embarrassed when people start demeaning you and not seeing the role that you play. But when you sit with young people and they come back to you and affirm you, Steve, and say, truly we are where we are because of you. Money cannot substitute.
Where we come from as SAAYC, we come from an institution which is only doing leadership trainings and annual camps. That's where we have been in the past. We were known as this institution that helps young people with leadership skills, and that's basically that. But we have grown so much that we are not only doing leadership, we have packaged our programs to be holistic, to cover a lot of aspects that the young person needs. SAAYC has grown that we don't only teach young people skills on leadership, but we give them other skills as well. For young people to be self-aware of themselves and become employable. Yeah,
I mean, SAAYC has always evolved and has never lost its core mandate, but it has always evolved based on the times. Remember that SAAYC, when it started, it was purely a recreational organization. It was really focused. It started by mainly, a lot of people are not aware that SAAYC was also basically started by social workers mainly, who were dealing with issues pertaining to young people. And they formed these youth clubs. And they were used to take them for recreational activities, play soccer, netballs, compete together. That's what SAAYC was all about, you know.
SAAYC has been able to sustain itself for 80 years because of the involvement and the pioneering role of so many individuals that were involved in the organization.
What's this organization? SAAYC was born in 1937. We've seen all the turbulence of transformation, transition, repression, detention, jailing, state of emergency. That organization has survived. How was it just to produce stars and unearth their potential?
One of the biggest challenges that I used to have was to know that the only freedom and time that I could be free was at the center. When I go back home, I will remember the poverty that we have, all the lack that we have at home. So part of the challenges was the fact that you need to make sure that you speak up. I mean, the platform here at the center that was created was that regardless of the label that you're wearing, we created this thing of articulation, reading and studying. So your poverty you forget about, you know. You find people who are saying, you're very intelligent, people affirm you. So the only affirmation that you'll get is in this space. So those challenges, as much as they were there to take you down, but you will bounce back based on the capacity that you have to think differently, to say attitude matters, you know, to be told that it doesn't matter where you come from, your past does not determine your future.
Memorable times, SAAYC camps.
SAAYC camps.
Leadership camps, national camps. There used to be themes around our camps, and camps were spaces where you got to learn practice what you have learned. You see, when we grow up in our homes, schools, and all these other places that we grow up into, there are a lot of do's and don'ts by adults. But at the camps, those were the opportunities where you learn to practice. That when you're not around your parents, your teacher, your preachers, you know, the life skills that they taught you, you had to start practicing. So those were the best of my time.
Camp. It's fun. You learn so many different things about yourself. It's about personal development, but it's also about learning how to work with others. At camps you're on the same level. Everybody sleeps on the same bed, everybody has the same status. So that's what you love about camps. There's no, I should be scared of this person because they're the leader or they're more important than anybody else. Camp is just traditional, laid back, and that's where you really get to know people. But once you come from a camp, you really are a changed person.
Wow. You know, I've been to overseas so many times, but my first time to the States, it's still a wow, you know, because it was even the first time even going outside the country in general. That was the best trip because I remember my boss or the person who was telling us, you know, preparing us to go, when she was telling us about the name terminal. You know, you used to the taxi rank and whatever, but you know, in the airport there's a terminal. So I had to use my little English, my experience, to understand those, to say even the accent in the airport is not the same with other, you know, your English teacher. So we used that first time experience to travel. And going to Washington, there was no straight flight. You had to connect somewhere, so you had to be always alert. Being in a flight for the first time was an experience that I can't explain even today.
I think with SAAYC, I've learned that success is impact, or is making an impact. So at SAAYC I've learned that we make an impact on people, but people also make an impact on us. And why I call it success is because it's measurable, it's tangible, you can see it. You can see it in people's changed behavior, you can see it in staff persons that have changed, that have improved themselves. I think at SAAYC it works both ways. It's something that we give to the organization, but the organization gives back to us, and we become changed persons, changed adults, changed role models, leaders, and that kind of a thing. And what we actually intend to do with young people is also happening to ourselves on a level that we didn't recognize. Only as you go along, you realize how resilient you have become, how compassionate you've become as a result of your involvement at SAAYC.
I want to speak to our young people. Please get to know yourself well. Get to know yourself very well indeed. Don't listen to the opinions that others have given you about who you are. And I say this with great respect. Some of us have parents who don't know better. Some of us have teachers who don't know better. Some of us have friends and buddies who don't know better. But you're a precious, precious person with incredible abilities and talents and potential, and you hear those words so often. And so I'm asking you to connect with what is real, what is true for you.